Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Based, and joining me are co-hosts Maceo Dill, Garrett Punchy Dill, and Coach Robinson. First of all, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How you doing, Al?
Good evening.
Wonderful. Let's just quickly run down the results from this weekend, starting with the first division match yesterday. It was BAA and no, I'm sorry. That's not right. Yesterday's match with Wolves and Young Manchester Club ended 1-1. And then we moved on to today's matches, where we saw in the first division, BAA defeated St. David's 3-1. Island Rangers got by Paget Lions 4-2. In the Premier Division, it was St. George's Colts 1, North Village Rams 0. Devonshire Colts 1, Somerset Trojans 0. Southampton Rangers were down 4-1, and that match was abandoned in late in the second half. And of course, the long-awaited return to night matches at the Devonshire Rec will see the Devonshire Cougars host the Denby Town Hornets in about half an hour's time. And like I said, in a return to having a night match at the Devonshire Recreation Club. Well, let's jump right into the matches in the Premier Division. Punchy, you were in the East End earlier today and watched the North Village St. George's match. St. George's getting a late winner there. What did you think of the overall game at the East End?
Well, I was really intrigued by the quality of the game. I thought it was really a good, very good game, a good watch, really good watch. I thought at times St. George's could have came off this game at like 4-2. The chances that they were created, you know. I don't think North Village had really bothered the saves that they were looking at what Freddie Hall had to make. Not really much, but I think St. George's showed a real good structure. I was really surprised in terms of like some of the stuff that they were doing, and I think it's in terms of what they're trying to achieve at St. George's. Again, I got to kudos to the coaching staff. I talked to the coaching staff after the game with Patches and Jerome Haywood, and I think it was also Kyle. I forget but anyway, the point that I'm saying to you is that Kyle Roberts, yeah. And I think what they're trying to achieve it. And I thought that, and overall, the game was well played. Well, I thought it was well played. I was really impressed.
Well, I just want to remind of Mr. Deal above you, and I know he's smiling because he knows what I'm going to say. Because he said this would tell if St. George's is a football club or a cricket club. So Maceo.
No. Well, you know, Earl and Maceo and Kita, I'm saying we're always talking about, you know, the country. We're trying to perfect the game and make it look presentable. I thought that in terms of the structure of the game, it was real played well, and I don't think St. George played very much.
You hit your mute button.
Oh, you're muted, Uncle. We can't hear you. You must be in a bad space or you're muted.
No. He just hit the mute button. You hit your mic again.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So I don't think the game was played on emotion today, because if it was, but I still appreciate what I saw today, what they're trying to do here in St. George's. Constructive football. I'm telling you, it's like, yeah, this is one of the better games. It was a good watch. You know, the way to go was good. I know the ball was put over the top. The way to go was good. A good decision making from the wide position. Ball came in good. But overall, I really appreciated the way the game was played. The quality of the game. And well refereed too.
Oh, okay.
Well refereed. Well refereed. So again, I don't think it was emotion that played it. I just saw that St. George's did a very good job in what they set out to do today.
Mace?
Yeah, okay, St. George's. All right, you beat North Village. We might have to ask if North Village is a community club or a football club. We might have to ask that question. They just community or are they footballers? They're doing a lot of things community-wise, and I think sometimes they forget about their football roots. But no, in all seriousness, in all seriousness, when you call the likes of Carl Roberts, when you call the likes of Calvin Deal and the likes of Drew Hayward, again, three different personalities and three different people with different concepts of coaching that are now forming a coaching team. And when you get people like that forming a coaching team, no stone gets unturned, and it's rewarding to see that when you're talking about a structured game of football to be able to win a game 1-0, to implement a plan, and that's something again we talk about Dandytown having a coaching team and they're not missing a beat. This is something that we have to start to implement in our football, having a coaching team. Now I know at North Village you'll have Kenny there and Davray and Jamaica Jennings. Now, are those two personalities in Davray Tankard and Jamaica Jennings strong enough to challenge Kenny to change ideas or to change selection or to do those things? And those are the things that we need when we talk about coaching team, so that we see different dynamics that we might have never seen before, and we experiment in different ways. So for St. George's, I'm glad to see that's happening, and you could see it. You could see it playing out. You could see it playing out with a victory over North Village, and just as North Village were gaining momentum, they were gaining, and North Village historically is a second half team. They're a second half club where they start off slow, and in the second half of the season where they historically came strong. So that was happening with North Village becoming strong, but they can't get across the line of St. George's. Yeah. So kudos to St. George's. A little birdie told me, well, watch what I do to St. George's, and a little bird has told me that I had insight, and the St. George's community said I heap a lot of pressure on them with that comment about them being a cricket club. They might just be a football club. They might just know how to play football down St. George's now.
Coach Keita, when you heard the result in the East End, what was your thought?
I was disappointed. I've heard different versions of how the goal was scored, but it was interesting to listen to Uncle Punchy and speaking about the quality of the match. I'd be interested to see if that quality was on both sides. It was 0-0 for quite some time, but he did mention that North Village didn't really bother St. George's too much. I've said it in the past shows that St. George's have a plan. I do not know that plan. I do speak with the coach quite often. When I say I don't know the plan, meaning we haven't talked about what it is that they're going to do. I do talk to the coach about what he is doing and what he sees within his team. And, we kind of bounce ideas off of each other. I expect St. George's to be successful. They have my first ever coach. I've had success. So they have somebody who knows the game, right? And they have a different voice. Sometimes a team needs a different voice. So they now have a different voice. North Village defeated North Village today. That's all I can say. Patches has a plan. He has a plan for himself as a coach as well. So, I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him. And I'm happy for that group. Carl is definitely a huge asset as the technical director. There's another person, obviously, he is now running Bascom Football Leadership Academy, which is my academy on Island. I'm just a TD, and just now I'm in a great position in that academy where I just make sure coaches get to where they have to get to, and anything he needs, I try to get. I do all the administrative stuff now. I've removed myself from the field as a national coach so that I could be completely unbiased, which I have always been, but this is a lot better. So knowing Carl's coaching reign, seeing the sessions that he sends me that he's going to be teaching under 9 girls play up until under 17 girls play. It's amazing. So St. George is going to go from strength to strength, and they had a really good under 17 team. So this isn't by chance either, right? So they're now they're blooding their younger players into their senior team. And now, as Maceo said, with a coaching team, it must be good for Giroux to have, he'll have his own ideas. But, I myself am part of a coaching team now, and it's nice then you're able to bounce ideas, and you can see where each person's idea makes sense for the complete picture. So, yeah, St. George's will go from strength to strength. As I said, I watched them play PAC, and they were not that far off of PAC. I think what they done in that match was gave PAC so much respect in the beginning of the game that they found themselves chasing the game. They came out 3-2, but they found themselves chasing the game afterwards, where if they had gone out and played front foot football, that result may have been different as well. So, yeah, my heart was broken for a half a second, but then I went to the other side of my heart and was happy for my brother and his coaching staff and what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well, sure.
I'm sorry. I'm glad we're talking about these points about coaching staff, like what I see at St. George's. Let's say what I see at St. George's in terms of, and this is just my personal opinion here. So who you got? Jerome Hayward. I'm saying Jerome. I'm sorry, how pronounce his name. And then you got Carl Roberts. Then you got Patrick. Patrick. So what you got these people that are bouncing off one another. Now who's a perfect example? Who's North Village with Kenny, but then you got Devray and got Jamaica Jennings. So let's say we're just looking at the dichotomy of this. Okay, so how this going to work when I have a problem? So we're looking at experiences, sir. And I just thought that what I saw today was that the coaching staff at St. George's showed a little bit maturity in terms of decision making, and it is for the country itself. So for me, in terms of direction, it is you can't have a coach. You have a coach, and then you have a supporting cast, and then you got to have a supporting cast that have knowledge. And I think St. George's again is a perfect example with the direction that they're heading in. Not that Northwest got it wrong. It's just that that's what it's a learning. That's what we have to adopt, understand that this is where it's got to be. You have a coach that's in charge of the team, but it's a supporting cast. It's most important to give him ideas of what's got to happen. And I think that's what we've seen at St. George's.
Sure. Well, that was a revenge game because obviously North Village won the first leg at Bernard Park. And then up at Somerset, Devonshire Colts avenged their 4-0 loss earlier in the season to Somerset by going up there and winning 1-0. A goal in the first half, and they were able to hold them out. Macy, you constantly talk about Jomar being able to coach chaos. They're okay as far as the extendings, but how much would this damage the Somerset, I guess, morale? I mean, you've just lost out to Devonshire Colts.
I told you he's not going to make it up Somerset. I told Jamar. I've had conversations with Jamar. I've had conversations with Jamar about even him at Rangers and about growing himself. So Jamar is a perfect example of somebody that doesn't have a coaching team around him. So he's always only thinking with his own thoughts. And if you're only thinking with your own thoughts, your thoughts are not really being challenged or they're not changing or evolving. So for instance, me as a pundit, which I'm being called now, I think people are forgetting my coaching experience and my coaching CV. But I know what Jamar's going to do before the game. I know every substitute is going to make. I know that, and I knew that he's not going to be beneficial up Somerset. Now he can appear to be beneficial of Rangers because they never had nothing. But up Somerset they had Silver City. They can't be fooled that easy. And for him to lose to Colts that have been struggling, this is going to be a big deal. Somerset's not going to take this easy. They're not going to take this easy to lose to Colts. Somerset doesn't really lose to Colts. They don't, and especially when they're struggling. So it'd be interesting if he gets another season out of this. If he's able to get another season, and the difference in where culturally clubs will give you time, no matter where we look at it, if you're developing their youngsters. So they'll give you time. There's two things that will give you time: winning, or they can see a development plan that encompasses their future. Everybody knows if Jamar's not there, certain players are going to leave. Just the same thing in North Village.
Mm.
So he's not going to be happy, So he's walking on a tightrope. No.
Hearing that result, Coach, knowing Somerset ran away 4-0 winners the first game of the season against Devonshire Colts, and Devonshire Colts both teams kind of, mid-table struggling a little bit. Devonshire Colts are looking to get out of that relegation talk, and today they kind of set themselves in a better position to move out of that, moving on to 14 points. So you're just hearing that result. What do you think? Of Devonshire Colts now feeling good about themselves. Unmute.
Sorry, I can appreciate that. That's the one thing in Bermuda, like, because we've been struggling and we're going to play. Like, I kind of like a team that doesn't give a team respect until they earn it. So, Devonshire Colts went into that game to play it to win it, and they didn't give Somerset, the respect. They had to earn it. Like, we're gonna beat you. And I tend to agree a bit with Meso in this structure at Somerset. Like, Somerset did so well, last year, and then even the season before, because I knew that they were supposed to be in the first division, and then somebody dropped out, and they were the ones to stay up. And I thought that they were heading in a good direction, with similar to what St. George's has done, using those youngsters that's been a part of your program. Jomar then left Rangers and went to Somerset, and a bunch of players followed. Now, are those players, are they there for Somerset? Are they there for Jomar? What is their reason for heading into Somerset? And so he's gonna have an up and down season, because you got persons there who's blood, sweat, and tears, and persons who's just come into the program. So getting that gel, and it seemed like they started off pretty okay. Our conversations about Somerset were different. So that would be a concern for me, for Jomar, is how do you now get the camaraderie among your two different sets of players? Because you have your Somerset players, you have your transfer in players. How do you now get them ticking? So Somerset's very next game is going to be a very important match for them.
And it's short too, because they play midweek.
Well, I gotta say this, sir. Look what's happening at St. George's. Look what Jomar has at Somerset. When I interviewed the coaches at St. George's today, there was 3. There's Kyle, my nephew Patches, and there is Mr. Hayward.
Right.
So you see the organization, what they were trying to achieve today. I don't know if Jomar has the same supportive system as Somerset. It just ain't gonna work. It just don't work like that in a small country like this. You need organization and backing. Jomar can't go up there by himself and think he's gonna fix Somerset. No, it ain't gonna work without support. It just ain't gonna work. And I'm not saying that Jomar's a very good. He's a very intelligent person about this game, but he needs support. And I saw it today. What happens when you have the right support, and what it does in terms of what you're trying to achieve? And that's what I saw today. That's what I witnessed today with St. George's victory. Well deserved. Trust me.
Sure.
Uncle Punch, quick question. What was the atmosphere like? Last week, and I feel good bragging about this. Last week, United scored in the last second of the match, and Old Trafford was eruption. What was it like in St. George's when St. George's scored that late goal?
Oh, it was no euphoria, but it was good. It was really like, wow. I was with Neil Painter up top. He was like, oh my God, yeah, it was real good. But it was how it was achieved. The right decision making, counter attacking. The ball was played on the right side. Ball came in quicker. I thought they just made right decisions. But my point is that what they do, even though they scored that goal, what did they do throughout the whole game? Norfolk had like 70. I would think Norfolk has 65% of possession. Very well organized, very well done. But the finishing, just lacked. And I don't call no names about that, but I think up in the front three in Norfolk today, tremendously not well done. Not well done. I just thought that again, kudos to St. George's, but you could see also about what we're talking about structure. Again, very well game. I thought the game was playing in good spirits, good quality, but I thought St. George's really, I thought in the end they deserved that victory.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Southampton Rangers Crossroads match. We'll be right back.
Our old friends Arrowhead Mills was founded in the 1960s in the famous Texas Panhandle with the ambition to promote the production and use of pesticide-free grains, cereals, and pulses. The mission was to bring the most wholesome food attainable to the mainstream markets. Since then, Arrowhead Mills has increased its range of products, most of which are certified organic. You can be sure that Arrowhead Mills know a thing or two about good eats. This month, we're featuring Arrowhead Mills green and red organic lentils. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back. Well, of course, up at Southampton Oval, it was a battle between two teams that are at the wrong end of the table, a lot on the line. It's one of those things where 3 points was vital for both teams. The match was going along with Crossroads leading 4-1, and the reports coming out of Southampton Oval was that after Crossroads scored their fourth goal, Rangers scored immediately from the kickoff, but that it was called back because the referee did not restart the game with its blowing of his whistle, and the players were not happy with that decision, and ultimately they left the field of play, and the match was abandoned. It's unfortunate because here we go with this. It always seems like something happens to Southampton Rangers that always seems to, it's got something. I mean, someone somewhere somehow it's got to be a little more level-headed and complete the game. There's other ways to do things, and it always seems to be them that come out on the wrong end of these on-field decisions that hurt the image of the club.
Well, Earl, in 1978, weren't you responsible for Rangers walking off the field then?
Yes, I was.
In 78?
Yes.
Rangers walked off the field in 78 because of disputed referee call. They haven't corrected that, right? They haven't corrected that behavior. That's why they're in the position that they are as a football club. They're in that position, because, and let's even think about this. I mean, they was down 4-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
They was down 4-1.
They were leading 1-0. They were leading 1-0.
Yeah, after leading, and now they want to point to a referee decision as to the reason why, potentially they're in this position and walk off the field. Yeah, so again, they haven't corrected the behavior since 1978, right? 1978, they walked off the field because they disputed a penalty call that,
Right.
it's still unknown if it was a dive or not dive or whatever. They disputed that, but these are parts of the game that you have to be able to overcome. You know, these are parts of the game. I mean, Maradona won the World Cup with a hand of God, right? And they write a book about it, right? This happens. This happens. This just happens. It's part of the game. And part of being a top athlete is, can you overcome these periods of the game? And Rangers obviously can. You know, they obviously can. And they bring, you know, I don't know all the details of it, of all this, what happens, but the BFA have to deal with this here. There has to be some type of sanction, some type of punishment that comes behind this to deter this type of behavior within the game, because it brings the game to disrepute.
Definitely. I mean, what was it, a season ago where Rangers, when Joe Mart was coaching up at Somerset, you know, players fighting each other.
So
it just brings that with the club name. I mean, who's got the pride? I mean, where do you draw the line, Coach Keenan?
Well, what minute was that? I'm just curious.
It was. I'm not sure. It was a lot of time left.
It was a lot of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
10 minutes is a lot of time in football.
Yeah. Well, okay. But they were down 4-0, and that would have made it 4-1.
4-1.
So it would have took it back to 4-0.
No, it would have made it 4-2.
That would have been 4-2. So it took it back to 4-1. Okay. I totally agree, Maceo, that those behaviors have to be addressed. I think that, you know, Rangers, if you got that 2 and if they pulled it back, like, obviously you probably were on top of Crossroads at that time. You were playing Crossroads. Anything could have happened, right? I feel for Stricker because in his past coaching stint, he did not have to deal with such behaviors.
Right.
And someone does have to make a stand with Rangers within the club, though. You know, we talk a lot about Rangers having to battle to get quality players as it is, because, you know, they're competing with PAC, and it's just not going to happen.
Right.
But they have to develop a plan. Rangers have to develop a plan. Some way, somehow, it's groundwork that has to be done. They have to go out and they have to find some players, and they have to, you know, they may have to abandon their ideal of being in the Premier League and hang out in the first division for a little bit until they can actually get players that can manage and handle the Premier League. And that's the only way forward for them at this time. They can't rely on the players that they have right now. I mean, Stricker's probably still playing in goal. You know, that's a okay, but that's a talent sign, right? That they now, Rangers have to restructure. Basically, I think Rangers now can officially be the only cricket club, but they're just a cricket club now. St. George's is now earned their football stripes. So, you know, at the moment, you know,
cricket club, yeah.
And even, you know, different sport, but, you know, they're gonna have to be careful with the cricket side too, because they continue to get the best players and there's no youth structure there. But, you know, for football, they're gonna have to regroup. Rangers gonna have to find someone who loves Rangers enough to make some real sacrifices and dig deep, get into the pageant primaries, get into the Purvis primaries, get into the Harambee, go find these little footballers and spend some time, develop a plan. It may have to be a 6 or 7 year plan, because they're not going to find that immediate success right now. I don't care who coaches them.
Right.
Pep, nobody coaching Rangers right now is going to be able to get anything out of it. And if no one could be level-headed today to stop, I mean, you know, someone had to say, no, guys, no, you know what, we're going to play. And if there's no one there to do that, and I'm not saying it wasn't tried, but if you have more willing to walk off the field and stay on the field and play for the Bears, then they have a serious problem. So, I mean, I wish them all the best. I can't see Stricker staying past. I'm glad he stayed past December, but I can't see him staying past May.
But it's interesting. Even when football was different, I mean, I could go way back to the 50s, where Rangers hired my grandpa, Tonsi Russell, to come up there in his heyday, right? They had this type of behavior about football versus building from within. And Keenum says it right. they're gonna have to find somebody that's passionate enough about Rangers and that community to actually activate a proper plan. Because they actually got a gold mine sitting there with the club structure and the club that's sitting there. They got a gold mine there, and they're just not invested in themselves. They're not investing in themselves and their people around their community.
Sure.
Let me add to this about investing in themselves. Let's see what's happening in Hamilton Parish. What direction they going in? With Sergio there, what's the future for them in the next couple of years? We're talking about the future of clubs like Hamilton Parish. BA's got a structure with Andrew. There are lights, facilities. What is really happening in Rangers it's been a fault of administration problems there. It's been administrative problems, and in terms of where they're going, direction. They have the junior program. It started. It just seems like a free fall. They do well for 1 year, and the next year, it don't happen no more. And I think there's also a problem for a lot of clubs that like Wolves is a perfect example. Direction and future, and organization in terms of direction where they're going. See, that's why I keep harping on St. George's. They're just. I'm not. Kudos to my nephew, serious, but there's something going on there that they're trying to do. I think they're gonna. I think what I've heard that they're gonna lighten structure, and what they want to do for the lighting fixtures. What they're trying to do. We cannot in this country keep harping on the fact that in organization and progression means that clubs like Boulevard, like Paget, okay, the very community clubs, but where they going? Where they going after this, sir? So let's say, for instance, you take half of Boulevard's team, go over to Andrew and be around BA. What would it do for the country? We're going to start asking these questions of clubs, organization. And Rangers is a perfect example of organization. What have they done with the facilities they have? Do they have lights? What have they done? What do you think Street is going to do with the product that he has? It ain't going to happen. It just ain't going to happen. So Streaker will probably leave next year, and it's going. And that's what I see now in terms of, let's say, for instance, again, go back to Hamilton Parish. Where are they going? What's going to happen there in the future? And I always talk about the country. The direction of the top clubs in this country must show direction. I'm so glad what Devonshire Rec has done. They upgraded the facilities, the lights. I'm sure the game tonight is going to be great because I'm seeing it. I stopped there, and so there's lights up there. I'm saying, whoa. So I think it's also good for the structural football, the structure. And I think I'm saying to you, a lot of clubs, with people getting more organized, more information, you can't shortchange people now and think that people have the answers to your problem. We have the answers to this problem. That's why I'm so glad about the show. We talk about it. What direction is Southend Rangers going in, and where they're going?
Definitely. Well, we're going to take another commercial break, and when we get returned, we're going to be joined by the organizers of the Bermuda Triangle Cup, which is coming up, I think, in March. But we'll be right back.
Amy's Kitchen is an independent organic food company, a family business who've been producing wholesome and flavorful foods over 30 years. From their first pot pie right up to 1 million meals a day, and firmly believe in the importance of TLC throughout the entire process. This month we're featuring a range of Amy's organic beans, refried and baked, chilies, medium, spicy and beyond, and a multitude of organic soups, minestrone, chunky tomato bisque, cream of mushroom, hearty Thai coconut, and much more. Lindo's, why when it plays sells.
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
what can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back. We're joined by Dennis Brown, Brian Martin, and Charlie Russell. We are waiting on Tony Robinson to join us as well. But first of all, good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the Island Stats Football Show. Mr. Brown, we have the Triangle Cup coming up. When is it supposed to take place?
The Bermuda Triangle Cup, we're bringing it back into the four. We actually had the Triangle Cup, I believe it was 2015, 2016. We're bringing the cup back. It will be from August the 3rd to August the 8th. Somerset will be celebrating the week before, and the Triangle Cup will be the week after Cup match.
You couldn't resist.
Couldn't resist.
I love manifestation. I love optimism.
Couldn't resist. Good job, Dennis.
You gotta take another commercial break because I'm gonna be laughing at you.
But this was something that we saw like as a need for Bermuda football. We don't play enough football, and one of the things, these are my partners, Brian and Charlie from Calvert County, Maryland, right, where we do our yearly camp. And one of the needs in Bermuda is for our youth to play more football. And so we put our heads together in relations to recommencing the Bermuda Triangle Cup with the blessing of the minister, who's been a great help to us, and Brian will fill in, all the other partners as we go along. But this is a need for, as my playing days or as my coaching days are, almost behind me, looking to improve football in this country. And one of the ways to improve football in this country is to get better coaching. I heard Punchy, Maceo, and Keita talk about structure. All clubs need structure. So what would a better way to get structure is to organize your preseason early, because too many youth teams start their preseasons too late. So if we know that there's a youth tournament in August, that means that they'll have to commence their preseason earlier and prepare for the season and get ready for it. So, this is going to be a good thing for Bermuda, because we're also looking for international teams coming in. It's a 11v11 tournament, which takes us from under 13s to under 17s. We're also trying to get some sort of participation for the Bermuda national under 23 teams. The National Academy teams will also be participating. So, we're looking for a good elite tournament, and that's going to better football in Bermuda in the long run.
Roughly, how many teams are you looking for in each division or each age group? Because you're structured with so many days of football. Is that correct?
Yes, this is going to be a tournament that runs from the Thursday to the Sunday or whatever, and as many local teams that want to participate, that will also compete against the international teams that are coming in. So this is a good preseason exercise for all youth teams, 13 to 17, and it's up to the clubs to, participate.
Brian, you have a hand in an organization in the U.S. How does this tournament or competition in Bermuda fit into what you're trying to accomplish in the U.S.?
Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight, everyone. Hello, Bermuda. It all works together, right? This complements everything that we're doing out here. Charlie and I, out here in Maryland. Dennis is on the ground in Bermuda. We have to give some credit, lots of credit to Cal Blankendown for back in the day when he was involved with Bermuda Brazilian, on putting these events together. And now we're going to continue that legacy and move forward. But it all works together. This Maryland, DC, Virginia area, there are a lot of very, very high level youth soccer teams out here, soccer clubs. We already have a commitment from one in Washington, D.C. Charlie and I have a meeting with another one in Arlington, Arlington Football Club, Soccer Club, next week or so to see how many teams they will send. So it all works together, but at the end of the day, this is for Bermuda youth, right? The reason why we decided to put this on and do this is to help, as I listen to the tail end of the comments in the show, Bermuda football. And in order for us to help Bermuda football, we have to start with the youth. And we have to stop talking about it, right? We have to start putting some things into action to start making these things happen. So our youth and their mentality and this play, their behavior, everything gets better. And then when they get down to the national level, representing Bermuda, we've already done the heavy lifting. So this is to show Bermuda and have the youth to compete against some really high level teams out here. And we're going to showcase our best talent on the island against them and hope the cup stays in Bermuda.
Charlie, for you helping to put all this together, obviously you have your hands full like Brian in the US, but helping to put this together, what in your mind when the conversation all started, what was one of the things that stuck in your mind that you wanted to be involved in this?
I would say for me, it's just definitely the pathways and opportunities. One of the big things we're doing with this event is bringing in scouts from boarding schools from the U.S., potentially Europe, scouts for colleges, and working with some of the players that have come over to the boarding schools here in Maryland. Players are very good, but you learn a couple of our cultures are a little bit different. The skill level in Bermuda is high. But when you get here, a lot of times you get in here 11th, 12th grade, almost on their high school career. And education is such a key piece to getting into college here. It's very important to give yourself options. And so for us, one of the things we want to emphasize is parents especially, is at the younger age that, when you start high school, grades are important. And that's where you can't start when you get older. So bringing experts from colleges and from the boarding schools over to this event. We'll have a seminar on Saturday about that, and just having that exposure, in addition to playing the teams from the U.S. So they realize on the island, trying to make the competition easier so they don't have to travel to it. We're bringing that.
Sure. Before I ask if anyone else has any questions, Dennis, we know that. What Charlie's saying about the school's part of it. Having this in August, right after St. George's finished celebrating taking it up, it's so close to school starting. It's almost going to have to wait another year for some of these kids to. What are you kind of talking to parents about ahead of time that they could possibly be ready if someone wants to offer their young person the offer to go to a boarding school in September?
Well, that's entirely up to the parents and or the guardians or whatever. What we're just trying to give each parent and child in Bermuda a pathway, a different pathway, because not everybody's going to go to England to play football. Not everybody's going to go to Europe to play football. So there are pathways, and we have partners in the UK. Tony was supposed to come on tonight. UK, we got partners in Canada. We have partners in all over the United States. So we just want to create, just show parents and the kids, there are different pathways, to getting ahead in football and also in education. One of the things I heard, I was on a Zoom with Tony on Friday night with two local players, and one of the things he told them was that as far as his concerned, because Turney is a ex-player, he's now an agent, and he has a business in the UK. Education has to come first, because suppose you get into the professional arena, and like him, he broke his leg and couldn't play football. So the next thing, he had something to fall back on, which was his college degree. So, that's one of the things that, we have to stress to the kids. And I tell every kid that has been through me that it's 1% in the world that are professional football players. So at the end of the day, your first option and your first priority should be to get an education and then look for football somewhere down the road. But and we also have Dr. Llewellyn Simmons, who's also on our committee in relation. He deals with the educational piece. So at the end of the day, it's not just about football; it's about education. It's about life skills. I heard these guys talking about behavior the other day. That's one of the things we look at very strenuously. Some things we won't tolerate. If you come into the Triangle Cup and your behavior is poor, we will deal with that. We will not tolerate bad behavior from players or from coaches for that matter as well. So at the end of the day, everybody needs to be held accountable, especially for crazy and I call it in Bermuda crazy behavior, and crazy behavior that's not dealt with by the appropriate people, the clubs, the coaches, and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, we are looking to bring something positive to Bermuda football, and it's not just for 1 year, but we're looking to have this as a sustainable objective for Bermuda football for years to come, which we'll talk about moving forward. You know what I mean? We'll have more pro teams coming next year. People have committed for next year as well, 2023. So it's going to get bigger and bigger every year.
Anything to add, Maceo, Punchy, or Coach Peter?
Yeah, I want to add to Dennis. How you doing, Dennis?
How you doing?
I'm glad you did mention about education, and I'm gonna give you a perfect example adding to what you said about education. Because a lot of parents think that the son when they're 13, 12, and oh good, then they go to England, and it's a struggle for them. But what the glamour is going to England and finding a contract with some of these great clubs. And I have a grandson that's with West Ham, but I also have a grandson that's also at Duke University, got a good education. It's getting a very good education. So the point that you have made is very important in that fact that education is also important. And for some reason in this country now, the glamour is to get the young kids over to England, and they're all going to make it. It just don't happen that way. I think most important is that what I've experienced, what I've seen is that education is paramount. And my grandson also with West Ham is going to go to education also, just in case. But my other grandson at Duke University is doing great. So I want to add to what you're saying in terms of what it means to what is twofold: education with sport, and it does matter in a country of our size. We can't just negate, just not think about if you don't do this. What happens? And how many kids in England haven't made it to play for Manchester United? But still, let's say we have to make sure and keep saying that education is paramount for our kids.
And Punchy is ironic because Turney, who was supposed to come on tonight from the UK, actually went to Duke University. He graduated from Duke University, and he talks about education, till it's blue in the face. You know what I mean? But and one of the things he talked about on Friday to the two local players he was talking to was that it has to be the right fit when you leave Bermuda. There are a lot of good agents, there are a lot of bad agents out there. And a lot of the bad agents just want to put you into a club so they could get paid. And one of the things Turney said was that it has to be a right fit. So a lot of people that are leaving Bermuda are going to academies and stuff. It may not be the right fit. You know what I mean? Look how difficult it is for Naki to get into his team. Look how difficult it is for Ken Critchlow, who's probably one of our best players now, to get into his team. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it has to be the right fit, for players leaving Bermuda.
Yeah.
Coach Keaton, as an educator?
Yeah. Hey, Coach. Hey, Uncle Dennis, how you doing?
Hey, Keith.
Um,
Not
no,
too
this-
good. Somerset lost today. Not too good.
Just like in August.
Terrible.
Good.
It's okay, buddy. That's all right. We lost too, so we feel your pain.
Yeah.
No, this is exciting, right? I can remember back in the day when Kenny Thompson had persons playing football all year round, and the cricket fraternity was upset. Like, why does he have to play football all year round? But it's so important for us as a country to have these types of tournaments, right? Because our players need to play more. As a national coach, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is that my girls do not get enough football, do not get enough games, we're not putting enough, even for me as a coach, I'm not putting enough situations to see what needs to happen and needs to improve, because we operate as an amateur member association. That education piece, obviously, as a teacher, is so key. And I remember when I took my national job, I took this job not to win a World Cup, but to provide opportunities for players to educate themselves, to get, the complete player. And so this is going to provide such an opportunity. I'm hoping girls are going to be involved. But even if it's just for these young men to have that opportunity, so that they can go overseas, so that they can be immersed in the actual sport. I mean, it's so great for a coach to be able to select a player who's training 4 or 5 times a week, as opposed to, Don here, we do the best we can to train as much as possible, but maximum training sessions is 3 times a week, right? And so, as a coach, to have players actually playing overseas and training overseas more than they actually get to train here is what this type of opportunity presents. My other question, Errol must have been reading my mind, was, August is, you said it's August, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. August is kind of late, and most people, if they're making any commitments, have made it. But there are those that are now starting to need to be looked at. And is there a scouting mechanism, or is there some way that you are going to keep track of those players that may be interested in coming into the boarding schools in 2023?
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, I'll take that. Thanks. As far as the context are concerned, everyone knows to reach out to Dennis. He represents Bermuda Soccer International in Bermuda as far as talent is concerned. We had an interview with a young man just the other day. But going back on the timing, we have in the past, Charlie and I turned around a kid probably late July to secure a spot in a boarding school mid-September. So timing is timing. And of course, we're trying to give people a little bit more time. But if it came down to it, Keita, just to answer your question, if it came down to it at the Bermuda Triangle Cup, if we had enough talent, if there was enough talent there for boys and girls, I just want to make that known that this is a boy and girl event, we could turn that around, right? Our biggest piece right now, Charlie and Dennis touched on a little bit, is the education piece for the parents and bringing the people on the island so that they can have conversations with the scouts, with the schools on the process and what's required of them, transcripts, etc. It's sort of mind-boggling sometimes. We get the calls on, hey, my son is a great football player. Well, he does have transcripts. Transcripts? What? Where I get that from? So it's like, the process of it, we're going to help with the educational piece of educating the parents and the students on how this works. It's a complete package. And, BSI, our goal is not only, with the Triangle Cup, but we also will help any Bermudian player that has the ability or the urge, if they're good enough, to try out and come out to do things. So we are affiliated with Loudoun United and DC United. Loudoun is the feeder system for DC United. And we had two Bermudian players that came up late last month. And we sponsored them along with Charlie Marshall, Bermuda Soccer, sponsored them to come. They had a tryout. I think they were a little taken back, right? Because they got to the tryout, excellent players. Dennis, like, these guys are great, but it goes back as far as how much we're training, what we're doing, and how often we're doing it. So these guys, I met them the night before at the hotel. Next day, 175 people trying out for 5 spots.
Wow.
For 5 spots. They made it through the first round, which was great. And then they played Saturday, and they didn't make it. So we will continue to try. Our goal is to continue to try to find the Bermudian that could represent us in Loudoun or DC United. That's a big piece of our goal. But it just goes to show, right? Because you touched about the 3-day. These people out there, these guys out there are training 6-7 days a week, right? And they're playing all year round, right? So it's an advantage. So for us to do and that all ties back to the Bermuda Triangle Cup and giving us a better advantage for situations and opportunities.
And Earl, one of the things also we hope to have also a professional coach here, because we also need to tell the kids what professional coaches and clubs look for. Friday, Tony and I interviewed both of the guys who went to the Loudoun experience, the Loudoun combined, and one of the things that came out of that. And a lot of Bermudian players have to realize this. Sometimes a coach is going to play you out of position, just to see how you're going to react under adversity, and that's exactly what happened to one of the players. He was played out of the position, taken out of his comfort zone, and then at the end of the day, he didn't react. But since which. I got information today that the coach from Loudoun has recommended this one of the young guys to go on another combine in North Carolina. He saw the potential the first day, but the second day when he put him under duress, he didn't respond. But he and Brian and Charlie don't know this yet, but he was invited to go to the North Carolina. I'm not sure what their USL team's called, but combined from February 19th to the 20th. You know what I mean? So, our players have to be ready. Our players have to be hungry. The thing, I was just telling someone on Friday about the perception of Bermuda players from all over the world. They say Bermuda players are spoiled. Bermuda players are not hungry enough. You know what I mean? That's why, when you get the Africans and the guys from South America going to these places, because they're hungry. They want it. That's the way out of the country, and that's how our players, have to get at certain points. If they want it, they have to work for it. Nobody's going to give you anything. So,
sure. Well, Dennis, Brian, and Charlie, we want to thank you very much for coming on and discussing this. We're looking forward to hosting you even more as we get closer to the event, to give people, clubs, organizations that want to be involved, the opportunity to get in touch with you guys to see what's at offer, what's at stake. So we look forward to reaching out to you guys even more to have you join us here and discuss about moving our youth forward with opportunities of not only playing football, but get an education as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you, Earl.
Good night, Maceo.
Good night, everyone.
We're going to take when we come back, go to the first division and then do our picks. But just an update, the Devonshire Cougars have taken a 1-0 lead over the Denby Town Hornets out at the Devonshire Recreation Club. We'll be right back.
New lights.
John Barrett & Son, home of Bermuda's best beverages, is starting the new year with an exciting new beverage, Numa, the organic sport hydration drink. Founded by brothers Brandon and Jared, both pro hockey players, Numa stands for No More Artificials and is an organic plant-based sports drink with real ingredients like organic coconut water and Himalayan pink salt. Numa partnered with fitness groups in the USA early in their development and expertly responded to the call for purity and simplicity. Try all flavors of Numa organic sports drink this month. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
What a difference a commercial makes. 1-1 at Devonshire Recreation Club. Dandy Town have equalized in that Premier Division match. This was a comment that came in while we were talking about it, and I think it was important to make reference to it. At Rangers, they always worried about the ability more than your stability as a youth. So just people's comments about what's going on at Rangers. Well, let's jump into our picks as I know you guys want to get out to that second half of the match at Devonshire Recreation Club. So as we talked about on Wednesday night in the Premier Division, Somerset Eagles went down 4-1 to the Devonshire Cougars, and all four of us picked the Devonshire Cougars. Also on Wednesday night, Devonshire Colts hosted the PHC Zebras at the National Sports Center. PHC came out on top 1-0. All four of us PHC, yes? Mm-hmm. And then today in the Premier Division, last night's game between Robin Hood and PHC was postponed due to the waterlogged pitch at BAA. And then today, St. George's Colts and North Village. Nikita, you chose the draw. Punchy and Maceo picked North Village. I took St. George's, so I go up by 3-2. And then to Somerset Trojans and Devonshire Colts. We all took Somerset Trojans. And of course, Devonshire Colts won that 1-0. The game between Southampton Rangers and Crossroads, was abandoned with Crossroads leading 4-1, but that will have to be decided by the association. So we'll leave that as is. And of course, right now, it is 1-1 out at the Devonshire Recreation Club, and we all took the Dandy Town Hornets to win that particular game. In the first division, we had Wolves hosting Young Men's Club down at the Wellington Oval yesterday, and that match was to be finishing a 1-1 draw. I believe, Mason, you were the only one to pick a draw.
What's
Us
that?
three, you were the only one to take a draw.
For Wolves
And Social Club.
the Social Club, and it finished the draw, right?
It's a draw, yes.
Nobody beat that game.
The Hamilton Parish Vasco game was postponed today. I believe it was due to COVID. And then we had St. David's going down 3-1 to BAA. All four of us took BAA. And then Paget, Lions, I'm going to start thinking like Maceo. Paget Lions and Island Rangers. Maceo, you and I took Paget.
So look, let me just make a comment. I took Paget because of my heart. I saw them doing something right. I saw them playing, and I knew in my football here they weren't going to win a game. I knew it. And this is what happens when you start making decisions on football with your heart. because I said Paget's doing some nice things. I see a little bit of structure. I already know them. I knew at the beginning of the season they weren't going to win the game.
You guys were starting to negate Island Rangers. They're finding that what they hear in the beginning of the season, they haven't lost it. They had a few glitches, but
I knew Paget can't win a game.
my man Uncle Punch took
I
Island Rangers, right?
I let my heart get involved in my choice again. I took
Me and Uncle Punch took Island Rangers, right?
Because of football.
Uncle Punch and I took Island Rangers.
Island Rangers, yes.
So, what was the score?
4-2. And Paget were leading 2-0 after 30
All
minutes.
right, yeah. Well, I always say that.
They gotta close up. Don is working. Don has a process. His working. Don is that's all right. They're scoring goals and they're leading games, so they know what that feels like. Now it's just gotta help them to continue that feeling.
It's funny. It's funny. It kind of gone. Sometimes it's become predictable, doesn't it? I figure that Island Rangers. Let's say Island Rangers come past PHC, and are they don't win any games past PHC in Warwick, Don? I don't think so. No, not really. No. And so it kind of becomes predictable, but it's not even. It's just the truth, isn't it? It's just the truth. That's all it is.
All right.
And,
So So that moved with tonight's game going on and the other games. I've moved on to 53 with 4 right. Maceo moved on. I'm sorry, Punchy, you moved on to 56 with 4 right. Maceo, you also got 3 right so far, and you're on 56. And Keita, you got 4 right, and you've moved on to 58. So Coach Keita is leading right now by 2 over Maceo and Punchy. So let's look at this week. On Wednesday night, out at the BAA field, it's Robin Hood versus the Somerset Trojans.
Ooh. Ask Maceo. Ask Maceo first. Ask Maceo first.
I'm going to start with Maceo.
Why you set me up? No. Again, Robin Hood's can come organized, right? Doesn't come structured, and Jamal has a problem breaking down structure and organization. I've looked at some of Somerset players that I think are very good players, but they look a shadow of themselves. Because again, they're not coming with no structure. One of the players that I actually rated some time back was this boy Furbit. Ja'Cory Furbit, like he actually doesn't look like he knows what he's doing out there. Another boy I rated highly in Somerset's team was the Rattery boy. He controlled games. The younger one, not JS, Jaden. Yeah, he controlled games of football. He's got a football intelligent mind, but again, looks a shadow of himself in this current setup of Somerset. So Somerset's going to struggle to break down Robin Hood. The problem is, can Robin Hood break down Somerset? Can they find a goal? I see that game ended in a draw, to be honest. Because as well as Robin Hood can control matches, structure matches, they find it difficult to win matches. So I see it ended in a draw.
Sure. Coach Keita?
Hey, I feel like I'm actually gonna go with Somerset. I just part of me feels as it, and I haven't watched them, but I just feel that they're due one. And I think, and this game is played when? BAA, you said?
BAA, yes. Wednesday night.
BAA. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Somerset, man. I think that they're gonna find a way because they can score goals. You know what I mean? I hear what Macy is saying too. I think Robin Hood is they're coming into themselves. They're managing their injuries a little bit better. Initially, when Macy was talking, I was thinking draw as well. But I think Somerset is going to edge them. I think Somerset is going to edge them.
Well, I've actually taken Somerset to rebound from today's loss as well. So I'm taking Somerset. Punchy?
No, I'm going against you all. No, Juma ain't got that right yet. No way. No, Dante Lavak, that's his pointster. Yeah, I'm not even going for a draw. BA is gonna Robin's gonna beat them. Robin's gonna beat them.
Okay.
Oh, BA. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He ain't got that right. And I think he's struggling with the fact that what he's trying to achieve up there at Somerset, it just ain't going right. No. I'm going with Robin for that game. Definitely.
Okay. Now, on Thursday night at the Devonshire Recreation Club, it's the Battle of the Colts. Devonshire Colts will take on St. George's Colts. Coach Keita, your first.
St. George's, it's not even gonna be a discussion.
Okay. I think St. George's will do for another victory, Maceo.
But on paper, on progression, definitely St. George's. But let's see if St. George's get full of themselves. Let's see if, pulling a victory over North Village. I mean, we remember Colts having a victory over North Village, and St. George's have added motivation to have a victory over North Village because they got Carol Patch's deal involved. That's a North Village person, so that added a little bit of spice to the game. With Carl Roberts there. So now you've got Colts. I mean, let's see if they can be structured and disciplined. They should pull an easy victory over Colts, to be honest. And I'm amazed at myself. I'm saying that since St. George's should beat Colts quite easily. So I'm picking St. George's, but let's see if they've been full of themselves. St. George's. Or they'll be celebrating all week because they beat North Village.
They will have a little edge on themselves because the last time these two teams met, they were in the first division and Devonshire Colts won. So, Punchy?
I'm glad you brought that up about when they last met. And I think I said this already in terms of direction and what St. George is going in. Do they travel well on when is the game, on a Thursday night or Wednesday night?
Thursday night, 8 o'clock up at Devonshire.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick. That's a tricky one. That's a very tricky one. If St. George's do what they did today, I would think they're gonna squeeze by. I'm looking at a draw, but maybe St. George's will squeeze by. But Devonshire Colts out on a night game in the city in Devonshire Rec, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go for St. George's on this one. I think they're gonna squeeze this one out. I think they're gonna squeeze this one just what they done in North Village today. Because of their coaching structure there in St. George's, they know what they're gonna go to Devonshire Rec to against Devonshire Colts. And I'm gonna say this again. When I saw that game 2 years ago, what you're referring to, when St. Devonshire Colts came out and beat St. George's convincingly, but St. George's restructured. You got different coaching. You got Patch's deal. You got Carl Roberts. They're not going to end up being prepared for what they're trying to do here. So, I'm going to St. George's.
Okay, all right. And then on Sunday, it's first division play. Island Rangers host Wolves. I have already taken Wolves. Punchy?
Where's the game to? Up Island Rangers?
Up at Malabar.
At Malabar?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wolves don't travel well. They don't travel well. Seriously. But Island Rangers, hey, you know what? I'm going against Cup. I'm gonna take Island Rangers on this one.
Okay. All right. Maceo?
I don't even know what my heart or my head's saying on that. Honestly, I don't even know what my heart or my head's saying. I'm totally confused.
Confusion versus confusion.
I'm gonna have to make an educated guess, man. Island Rangers can't be Wolves, man. No, they can't. Wolves is gonna go up there and beat Island Rangers, man.
Okay. And Coach Keita?
Yep, I'm gonna be Wolves over as well.
Okay. All right. The next game, Social Club is taking on Vasco. Punchy.
Where's the game to?
It'll be at Police Field.
Oh, that's Social Club. Hands down.
Okay. Maceo?
Social Club. Yeah, Social Club.
Keita?
Social Club.
And I will take Social Club as well. The next game, very interesting one. At the BAA field, Boulevard versus St. David's. Maceo.
Boulevard. Boulevard's gonna beat St. David's.
Okay.
Andrew beat BA beat St. David's today.
Yeah.
Don St. David's, man.
Yes.
They're starting to concentrate on Connie now.
It's January. It's cricket season.
Not a cricket club.
Coach Keita?
Yeah, Sam is still work. He's not watching the show tonight. Boulevard.
They'll watch the replay.
He don't know how to find it. I tell him I ran one tonight.
I'm gonna take Boulevard as well. And Punchy?
I'm taking Boulevard. I always talk to the coaches in David's. They don't travel well. It ain't no way. No.
They don't stay there well either.
He's trying. Lugo's trying. I mean, he's got a bunch of youngsters, and I know that St. David's players don't travel well. They don't travel well. It's simple. I think Boulevard's going to take this game easy. That's it.
Okay. And then the final first division game, I'm already penciling in everybody because Paget Lions are facing Hamilton Parish at the Southampton Oval.
Yeah, we can do show. Night, everybody.
Yeah.
I put us all down for Paget to win the first game.
Hey, I picked you for the first time. Last week, I picked you for the first time, and you let me down. I will not be picking you again. You will not get a victory.
Yeah, they're working on it. Hey, listen, I'm happy for Patrick to have a team. I'm happy for Patrick to still be playing at this time. You know, it's been a couple of seasons where they've started and they're not. You know, they lost players and had to drop out mid-season. So, for I love Jaquilo to death. Yeah, that's exactly why I have no faith in Colts. But you know, Patrick's actually allowing you know, they're holding on to their players, and I don't know, they probably even have subs, you know. So unfortunately for them, it's going to be a very tough. You know, this is a tough season. It's going to be a tough run. I'm just happy that there's no demotion from that league, you know, that they could continue to play in that league and hopefully find their feet. But I don't see a victory in sight for them either, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, today I thought they would have had that one. I guess Mason and I were proven wrong. That's why I actually ran up by Rangers and none of the Patrick guys would come over by me because they let me down.
You know what I want to add to this is that it's funny when the country decides, and you watch Norfolk in terms of perception of when one player doesn't play, and he's such a miss. And it's very, very easy to understand that with the quality of players that are in this country now for the top teams, that if you miss one of your better players, it's just like it's not a guarantee of victory.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how much what these coaches must be dealing with now in terms of the quality of players that they have at their disposal.
Yeah.
The right fullback position in Norfolk, I'm not going to say it, but anyway, I thought it was anyway. But I just seen that it's kind of become easily predictable here in terms of, well, like tonight's game, who's playing, who's not playing.
Right.
And so it's going to be difficult for the coaching staff too, because these guys they know quality versus non-quality. And I thought that so it's very, sometimes it gets predictable, but you never know. Because I keep saying, I'm going to say it again. The FA Cup challenges, BA's got to go up Somerset and play. That ain't guaranteed that BA's not going to beat Somerset, you know. No. Andrew, you will embarrass Andrew. And then we're going to Hamilton Parish against who? Against
Hamilton Parish will play
in the FA Cup.
Hamilton Parish will play in Somerset.
Hamilton Parish playing. So BA are playing Cougars.
They're playing Cougars.
Yeah. It ain't gonna be so it's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah,
And I'm saying to you about our country, coaches with what they have at disposal. So, are you knowing what you're doing? Do you know the quality that you have? What do you do? And I think again, kudos to St. George's today. Before this, kudos. I think they're headed in the right direction. They are a perfect example of an organization, structure, what they're trying to achieve there. Kudos to them.
Sure. And before we go, of course, we start next week in picking the player of the week for the Gosling's Award. And then, of course, at the end of the month, we pick the player of the month. So next week, it's on for us to pick that player, that outstanding player for the player of the week. So with that, we want to update at halftime out at the Devonshire Recreation Club. It remains 1-1. So interesting 45 minutes coming up for not only the league leaders, but a very good night for Devonshire Cougars that they've now returned to night fixtures at the Den. So
and it's on YouTube too. So Bermuda Football Association on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can watch it.
I've been watching it all this time, so I'm watching that match.
Yeah, we saw you distracted.
And it's interesting, right? I still feel that Dandytown's gonna win it. But as Uncle Punchy mentioned earlier, he was speaking of he spoke of 3 players in North Village that weren't firing on all cylinders. The thing is, Dandytown can get goals from anywhere. And when you have a team that can get goals from anywhere, that's very difficult. I remember Chelsea's winning season. They were getting goals from everywhere. And then Drogba decided, I want to be the guy. And they had to try playing everything through Drogba. And that very next season, it went all downhill. So, right now, they got players that sometimes their strikers are not going to have good games. But who can now dig deep and play that other extra 15% harder to compensate for those players. So
just based on what you're saying, the Dandytown Hornets have a player that scored 7, player that scored 6, another player, 2 players have scored 4 times each. Then they have another player who scored 3 times. So they're getting goals from
everywhere.
6 different players, multiple times.
Exactly. Yeah. And you see that when you look at standings and stats, right? You see this player, that club's name that many times. I looked at the stats last week and I'm like, this is hard to defend. This is hard to, you know what I mean?
On adding to that, Peter, it's like, what do the coaches say? I keep saying, repeating, what do you have at your disposal? I mean, it's not quality. You have a good coach, but do you have quality players? And I think in certain positions. And when you start analyzing that, then you're saying, well, good coach, but you ain't got the players there.
Hey, Vance, shouldn't you be coaching Vance, Ron? Go in your halftime talks. Leave us alone.
It don't always fix it. The talks don't always fix it. I don't think the talks always fix it. Sometimes comes on to quality. And I witnessed that today. So in a country our size, I keep saying to this, I keep referring to this in terms of what are we doing in this country? Educating more coaches, but do we have the players?
Yeah,
it's very important to understand this where we're going here.
I think, Punchy, to that point, I think with when we see this Triangle Cup, we'll see our potential.
Very good.
But we have to get together to figure out what we're going to do with them when they get to a certain age, because we have all the raw talent at the young age, but we tend to allow it to drift away as they get older into the leagues. I think
let me chime into that a little bit. That Triangle Cup. First of all, good on those guys for doing that. From a previous from a other position that I've been encouraging national bodies to bring opportunities via their sport to Bermuda for our athletes to compete against, so it gets some diversity for them to compete against. And let's talk about that from a financial standpoint. I've done some research over the last 10 years. We're had over 3,000 students between the ages of 10 years old and 18 year olds and 18 year olds that are left Bermuda for sporting or educational opportunities. 3,000 students over the last 10 years equates to like $35,000 a year. In 10 years, that equates to $90 million. So $90 million is leaving our shores for education and sporting purposes. because we don't have the platform here. So I'm so happy to see, sporting bodies bringing opportunities here on island for our athletes to compete against, because it also talks about, it speaks to tourism, So if you're bringing athletes to Bermuda and you're having events in Bermuda, that is now a sports tourism product. We see what the rugby does, we see what the golf does, we see what the sailing does, brings those opportunities here, and the privileges they get via government or whoever to be able to host it. So we need to start doing this for our national sports. So I'm glad to see the likes of Dennis Brown and his team involved in projects like that. And these are the projects that we need on a more regular basis, because they're using good words. They're using words like pathways. So everywhere in the U.S., no matter what sport, they've got pathways lined out where people can get scouted and they can understand what's going on, and they can take directions, whatever direction they want in sports. This is what we need to develop, in our sports pathways. So kudos to those guys for their initiation of this project, and
Sure.
hopefully it goes from strength to strength.
Sure.
Well, before I go, I'm glad to again what the show does try to answer the problems why we're in the position that we're in terms of the fact that we don't play enough games internationally. The national program, where's the national senior team? The under 17s. We can ask these numerous questions about why our continuation of progress doesn't exist. And we need to, and that's why I'm glad that we're having this, the program is asking these questions. Thank you very much, Maceo and Keita, and yourself, Earl, being a part of it, so we can ask these questions. And they need to be addressed. And I'm glad that whether people feel that we ask them these questions, rather they're intimidated by us, but asking these questions. But I think this show is actually geared towards asking the questions.
Well, what happens
are we
now
gonna
is
do?
Collaboration. So it's
Exactly.
collaboration now, right?
Collaboration. That's exactly it.
With them bringing this in, I don't think there's any coaches, especially within the academy. Dan, I heard Dennis say, I believe he said an under 23. We have now the new form under 23 team. So the collaboration. This is collaboration now. This is us utilizing our people to continue for us to grow. So it is part of the process. It is part of the progress. I believe Uncle Dennis sits on the PDC at the BFA. So the collaborations are happening, and I can speak, especially for myself and my coaching staff, that this is something that's going to bode well for us as far as our preparations and us getting games. It's not that we don't try to get them. There's so many different elements right now. Like the government's not allowing. I would love to have international friendlies on shore before I travel to Jamaica in 2 weeks, but they're not allowing football teams to come in for those types of things. We've been trying for the betterment of probably a year, because we want to improve our rankings as well to get teams to come. But then we come up against the countries to come to meet us, maybe in Florida, so we could play those international friendlies. But then there's the visa problems, and then we have one right in place, ready to rock and roll, and then that country got hit with COVID. So there's been some things that's been put in place that just hasn't happened, that's beyond our control even. So collaborating now with these types of projects is beautiful. There's other things in the pipeline too that will come out eventually of different types of tournaments that will, again, have players playing all year round. So it is heading in that direction. And, so maybe questions that's being asked on this show are being answered. They may not be coming directly to us, but they are being answered, or they are being worked on behind the scenes. Again, our coaches have to be willing to be educated. You have some coaches out there that's really afraid to take a coaching course. They're really afraid to do a license because I guess they're afraid to do whatever they have to do. They drill in front of other coaches, in front of their colleagues, or it's other things that's out there that stop coaches from getting the education. But again, I can't stop commenting on Anytime. The amount of B licensed coaches that's within their coaching structure. Carl Roberts, I believe, is a B licensed coach, and Jero's a B licensed coach. Patches is a C licensed coach. So, having those coaching badges, and which means that they have done some form of education, is helping with the structure of their actual teams and programs. But that's all for me tonight, guys. It's been fun.
I'll give you
I gotta run.
I want to get this comment because the Dennis's partner, what is his name?
Brian Martin.
Brian is a born Bermudian, right? That's
Yes.
in Maryland, and Punchy gave kudos last week to Corey Hill becoming a scout for the BFA. We need to spread our network of scouting a lot more wider. Even across the UK. Just as we're talking about a coaching team, we need a scouting team. So Corey's up north. You got Shannon Birchall that's down south. You got Torian Manders that's also down south. You got Peter Ricards that's out there. You got Deshaun Cooper that's out there. But we also need to go across to America. You got people like Brian that's in America. You got
Brian has quite a few guys at Calverton from Bermuda.
What's that?
Brian has quite a few guys, youngsters at Calverton.
Right. So with these networking, this is again part of our scouting networking that feeds back into this work collaboration, and it feeds back into the process. So we need to spread our, be more inclusive and spread our wings a lot wider to be able to make sure we're servicing players in football.
And that's part of the process too. I mean, look, kudos. We got Corey Hill, so we got eyes out there. That question was asked in this show a while ago. So the eyes are there now. So yeah, the next step is to start to include more scouts throughout, because as you said, I mean, 3,000 is a lot of people. We have a lot of players that's out there that I know would love to represent this country. And so, it's a work in progress. We're not going to get 7 scouts one time, but it's those conversations that have to be had, and, what can they offer? How wide can you spread? And, I know no one's afraid to have the conversation. So, I'm excited that at least we started. Corey is on the, I mean, even for me, he's even scouted a player for me so far. So I'm happy with the direction that we are moving in. It is going to be a process, and we are moving in the right direction.
Well, before I go, that's what we're here for, to ask those questions.
Cool.
Yeah, to say that we go home and do my little paperwork and say, then yes, we have enough people overseas. You need to do this scouting mission for all the Bermudians are playing, whether in the United States, in Canada, in England, whether in Ireland and Scotland. Find them. Find out, they can represent this country. Yes, let's go for it. And I think, again, that's what the show's about. All we're doing is asking the questions why this hasn't been done, and let's move forward with this. And thank you very much for. I'm very happy to be a part of the show. That's all.
Sure.
Uncle, before I promise I'm gonna let you go. Or I know you're trying to go watch the game. I will tell you that. I want to spread our net, but on the women's side, I don't want to spread it too far, because I've had some riders that's been riding with us, and I honestly, I want to make it with the group that I have. These girls have put in the work. They have grown so much, and we have cast our net. We have cast our net outside our shoes a bit, but if I'm speaking now from my heart, Maceo, that I want to ride. I want to ride with my riders. I don't want to ride with some strangers that, you have a Bermuda passport, your great-great-grand is Bermudian, let's come and play. Yes, it's about winning stuff, but we still have to recognize that we have some pretty talented people on island that are working hard as well. And so, I got to ride with the crew that's rode with me. So I will cast in that a little bit to fill in a few blanks. But I think that we got some onshore, that's offshore, that's good enough to ride.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, we'll be back next week with another edition of the Island Stats Football Show. Thanks, guys. Been a good night.
Have a good night, guys. Have a good week.
All right.